Okay. Now I want to ask the rest of us sitting here and our speakers, what substantial initiative, steps have you taken in the area of education? Substantial, I don't mean just do it once and you forget it. What have you used your office or your empathy or the community you live in to gather their support to do something, if not for the wider state, but your immediate community? You'll give us that answer later. Now I want to talk about the teachers that do not allow reporters and sponsors to take pictures of the degrade in the school, the dilapidated buildings, the teaching methods. You won't blame them. I stand to be corrected. I have evidence. These teachers are queried. They are scolded. In fact, their jobs are threatened when they allow this to be showcased. So you will not blame them. How much are they being paid? They have mouths to feed. And if they are being paid so little, how do you want them to develop themselves? Even the education they are trying to pass to these children is not really being supported by the same state or the federal government. So why would I go and spend so much money to develop myself, to teach you? When I try it, they'll scold me, and my job is being threatened. So when you say that we don't have a structure, we once had a very good structure. And like what Mr. Fayemi said, he said we'll take a step, as in we wait for results of what other countries have done like 10 decades back, and we want to use it now. Just like what you said. You said we're in the initiation stage of computer education. And I'm sure you'll probably be teaching them MS Word, how to use MS
No, that's not what she said. What she was saying is the project they are working on.
The project,
hold on. I'm sorry, let me correct that. I'm sure she may want to contribute. What the project they are working on, they are in the planning stage. Not
of using planning, not even the planning stage of computer. When we have probably 5 years old in other countries that's even writing software. There's a 7 years old Japanese that has a as in writing software and all that. And now we are still planning of how to really introduce computer to our school.
I have a few last words, if that's all right. Because I think that we had some questions that were unanswered. I want to try and address maybe a couple of them.
Okay.
The first is the question about teacher quality. It was a question about teacher quality. And what can we do about it? What are the issues around this? Yes, there is a lot of evidence to suggest that the way we traditionally measure teacher quality is not necessarily within our context synonymous with learning. What do I mean? When you want to say a teacher is a high quality teacher, what do you normally think of? Qualification? What else? Experience. Very good. So those are traditional measures of teacher quality. But there is now emerging evidence to suggest that that's not enough. The best teachers are the ones who have characteristics that are difficult to measure. You can measure the years of a teacher's schooling very easily. You can measure his years of experience very, very easily. But it's a bit more difficult to measure his motivation. It's a bit more difficult to measure how much a teacher actually loves teaching and how much value a teacher actually places on the pupils in the classroom. And those are the measures that tend to make a fundamental difference, a huge difference in whether children learn or they don't. That's why they say sometimes, and I'm not saying that anyone should abdicate their role, not government, not private sector, but if you have an extremely motivated teacher who has basic levels of competence, is truly passionate about children, and passionate about knowledge, if you put him under a tree to teach, they will learn, right? So that's one thing to say. But within the context of our educational system, it's important for us to understand one fundamental thing, and I'm using this word a lot. We are systematically churning out the worst performers to be our teachers. And apologies to anyone who's a teacher here. All my 3 degrees are in education, so apologies to myself. Right? We are systematically making sure that only the worst people are qualified to teach our children. And until we address this elephant in the room, we're going to continue to have significant challenges in the sector. And you can have all your fancy degrees, you can come out and be a brilliant engineer with a wonderful company. The person who's going to teach your child is going to be the worst product of the education system. Because that is the person who could not make the cutoff mark to go to university, right? So let's remember that. It's very, very important. And when you do your advocacy work, that is a major area for advocacy. Now, obviously, there will continue to be teacher shortages if we have only the best people going into teaching. But why not? 2 people in this room today have mentioned Finland. Do you know that in Finland, and maybe Mrs. Adifisai can even tell us a bit more because you've engaged more closely with the Finnish. In Finland, teachers have autonomy. Nobody tells them what to teach. You know why? Because before you can be a teacher in Finland, you're the best of the best. You're the brightest of the brightest. You know, you look at medicine, you look at teaching. In fact, sometimes you think the teachers are actually even higher, have higher levels of ability than even the doctors. So until we get to that situation, please stop comparing Nigeria and Finland, please. Because it's a very problematic comparison. Because the contexts are essentially different, right? And of course, the historical contexts are also very, very different as well. So I think that it is very important that we remember this. I'm going to use a personal example from you. I hope you don't mind. This didn't even come from her. This came from my mom, who was telling me about your mom, right? And she told me that Mrs. Adifisai's mom attended one of the best schools in this country, Queen's School Ibadan. Queen's College Ibadan.
Lagos.
Oh, sorry, Queen's College Lagos. Yes, thank you very much, ma'am. And at that time, when you graduated from such a prestigious school, one of the first things that the government wanted to do was to get you into the education sector, was to get you to be a teacher. Was your mom not a math teacher? Ah, because they wanted the best and the brightest in that sector, because they knew everything depended on education. You know, a lot of people argue about how health is actually more important, agriculture is more important. If you don't have food, how will we teach? But if you've obviously never been the victim of food poisoning, if you think that way. And food poisoning because of incompetence.
I'm sorry, let me interject. You know, what you just mentioned now, I'm sure we all know about that. When we have first-class graduates, the school they graduated from would want to employ them. But today, you know what's happening today? The students turn down those opportunities. And why do not want to be a teacher? Why not?
Why would you want to be a teacher? Do you want to be a teacher? No. How many people in this room want to be teachers? Excuse me, please, let's be honest. How many of you want to be? One. 2. Please, how many are we in this room? 3. How many are we in this room? Do you understand what I'm trying to say now? There's no incentive to be a teacher. It's very difficult. It's a very difficult job, and it's a very thankless job. You know, so you really want to get the best, the brightest, the most motivated, and you want to keep them there as well. You want to give them a decent wage. You want to make sure that the conditions of service are suitable, you know, or conducive, you know, for them. So I just wanted to talk about that briefly. Is the chapter secretary, is she back in the room? Because I know she's different. That's the lady.
Oh, she's got to be.
Okay, yeah. So she asked us, you know, she threw a question at us, and she said, "What are the people on this table doing?" One personal response to that is the importance of thoughtful criticism. When you want to critique, ask yourself, why am I critiquing? Why am I even asking this question? What am I trying to get out of this question? Right? Because it's possible that as you fling the question to one person, they actually want to fling it back to you. Right? So I'm not going to speak for everybody on this table, but I can attest to the fact that every single person on this table is doing active work in education. And a lot of that work is making a difference. I'm not going to go into the specifics, but I just wanted to talk about how important it is as people that are global citizens to critique with a lot of deep thinking, because the tendency for us as people is to always criticize. The client comes to me and says, I have a problem with my school. How do I address it? And I say to the client, I've been thinking the same thing. Your school certainly has a problem. How do we address this problem? Am I going to get paid? No, I'm not going to get paid. So I just wanted to say that. But in terms of what people can actually do, I think there are a lot of avenues for engagement. JCI is one platform that is extremely powerful. I don't even know whether you know how powerful you are. But it is a powerful advocacy platform. And one of the areas where we are deficient in this country is advocacy. Really effective, well thought through advocacy. It yields results. You know why? Because we live in a democracy. And in a democracy, although we have the institution of government, we are essentially government. So advocacy is very, very important. There are platforms like the NESG, for example, which has a Human Capital Development Policy Commission. You know, because we're talking about PPP now, we're going to be question about PPPs. You know, and that is quite a useful platform that brings together the public and the private sectors, you know, to deliberate on issues that influence that border on policy and practice in education. And I think that that's one that I would encourage us to be part of if we're not already part of it. I think that I mentioned JCI. I can talk about our own platform, which is Learn Nigeria, which is a citizen-led household assessment that is going across the entire country, testing children aged 5 to 15 to find out what their basic competencies are in literacy and in numeracy. And the reason we're doing that is so that we can put the power back in the hands of the citizens. And so the citizens can understand the scale of the challenge and understand how to engage with policymakers, even at the local government level. And that is the essence of this initiative. And if people want to learn more about it, I'm here. You know, you can follow us on Twitter, you can send me an email, my colleague is here. There are many ways by which you can engage. But I think overall, the point here is that everyone is saying, or not everyone, but a lot of us are saying, don't leave this room without a firm commitment to doing something. You don't have to wait until you are the governor of the seat before you can make a difference. Indeed, you will never be governor if you don't make a difference now. So I just wanted to say that as, you know, my
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Please, a round of applause for her.